I need to start off this video telling you a story about my coworker who recently bought a Tesla Model 3. So at the end of November, my coworker bought a Model 3. Yes, he knew the new one was coming, but they had really good deals. He wanted to pick it up before the tax credit was gone. And he asked me a lot of questions. And what I like about talking to someone like this about their new Model 3 purchase is they are not like me, and they're probably not like you watching this video, who is someone that's kind of into Tesla. They're nerdy about it. They research everything. They know everything about every car. He is just a person who wanted a car for a good price with good features. And that's what he got. He's very happy with the vehicle. And yes, this clip is me sitting in the backseat of his car while he uses FSD on his 3-month free trial. And in this less than 20-minute drive I took with him, the car tried to turn us into oncoming traffic. So the initial impression from him on the software is probably not going to be great. So when I'm lucky enough to talk to a person like this that isn't so exposed to Tesla, I can learn a lot more about the cars. I've been driving Teslas for 5 years now. A lot of the people I know that drive Teslas have been driving them for a while. So we kind of get used to the features and used to the cars and, all of that. I use this as an opportunity to ask him about full self-driving and autopilot and of course other aspects of the car, but he gets the 3 months of free full self-driving with his new purchase. And I was curious if he was really going to use it, if he would enjoy it, if he wouldn't like it. He's an inquisitive guy. He's a smart guy and he does like tech, but he's not nerdy about it. He just wants to try things and see if he likes them and then kind of decides if he'll continue using them. So his initial impressions were basically, it's really neat, but it does really dangerous things that scare me. And so I don't really want to use it. And he doesn't really use it to this day. His free trial is almost up. And I was asking him, hey, when you're free, I knew the answer, but I asked him anyway, when your free trial of FSD is up, are you going to buy it? Are you going to go through with the purchase? Do you think you want to subscribe to it, pay the $200 a month? And he said, absolutely not. There is no way. Actually, to start the conversation, I said, hey, do you still have FSD on your car? Because I didn't know if it had been 3 months yet. And he said, what's FSD? I laughed and I asked him again, I was like, FSD, do you still have it? And then he guessed some other things that FSD might stand for until I finally just told him, no, I mean full self-driving on your car. Do you still have it? And he said, oh yeah, I have it for another month or so. And then I said, are you gonna, pay the $200 a month for it? And he said, no. So I asked him, why not? And of course he said, it's way too expensive. He also said that he doesn't use it. He does turn it on sometimes, again, here and there just to try it out. But he said for the most part, he just drives himself pretty much completely. So I asked him, what if it was $50 a month? And he thought about it. It wasn't an instant yes. I recently did a poll on X, or asked a question on X, and it got a lot of attention. I guess people are really interested in the price of FSD, and most of the replies there, again, X is probably a lot of, nerdy Tesla people, were like, oh yeah, I don't pay for it now, but at $50 a month, that's a no-brainer. Well, my coworker said, he thought about it. He goes, yeah, 50 maybe I would pay for it. He goes, I don't really drive that much, so I wouldn't really use it. And he said, but if I drove long distances a lot, I would definitely pay 50 a month for it. And then my response was, well, that's kind of funny because if you drove a lot of long distances, that's mostly going to be highway. And in my opinion, autopilot gives you like 90% of what you need on the highway anyway, compared to FSD. And so he kind of thought about it and he goes, yeah, that's a good point. And he hasn't even tried standard autopilot yet. And he said that he needs to basically try that out and see if he wants to, go forward with FSD, but he's 99% sure he doesn't want to pay all the money for it. Basically, the point of that story is to get across to you that that's probably the average person buying a Tesla. That's a ton of money, especially when you're talking about a Tesla that's maybe $35,000 or $40,000 after tax credits and incentives and all these things, to then ask somebody to lump another $12,000 on top of that for the option of FSD, or to pay $200 a month on top of their car payment. That's probably only going to be going to be somewhere around $500 or $600, depending on interest rate and how much they put down. Maybe it could be $700 or something. You really want them to add another $200 per month on top of that? It's a big ask, and people are not responding. So on Tesla's recent earnings call, Elon Musk said that 400,000 people are using FSD, and that's the same number. That's the same number as the last earnings call, 400,000 people. And so if that number is accurate, it means not a lot of people are buying FSD. Some people probably sold their cars and maybe lost FSD, and the next person didn't pick it up, and maybe, a new person bought a Tesla and bought FSD. But overall, it seems the number of FSD users is not going up. I don't know if that's exactly a problem for Tesla, but it does tell us something about what the public thinks about FSD. The Model Y was the best-selling car in 2023 officially, and even selling all of those Model Ys over the year, it seems that the use of FSD is not really going up. I do a lot of videos and content about FSD, or at least I did when we weren't waiting for version 12. And something I've noticed in the content I do around FSD, either on X or on YouTube, the sentiment seems to have changed quite a bit. admit, back in the day, 2 years ago or whatever, I'd post videos, and of course you'd have some haters or some people saying like, oh, this is garbage, it'll, never work correctly, blah, 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 which is totally fine. I put the videos out so people can see what's happening and kind of make their own judgment calls. But lately, it seems like a lot more of the comments are negative and in different ways than they used to be. So in the past, it would be, there's no way this is ever going to work. It's not going to be a robotaxi, which in my opinion is a valid take. But then a lot of people would be like, oh, this is such a cool technology. I can't believe this is on customer cars. I can't believe, you can purchase this and use it. It's anyone versus something like a Waymo, which is like there's only a few of them, etc. Well, now a lot of the sentiment I'm getting in comments and everything on my videos is like, what a waste of money. This is stupid. Why would anyone want this? And it's people that own it. People that own the FSD are getting a bit frustrated with the lack of progress. And I think it really comes into your expectations when you are either purchasing the software or your history with the software. If you used FSD 3 years ago and it was total garbage, and you're using it today and you think about that comparison, it's a lot easier to be like, man, this is amazing. I love this technology, etc. If you're somebody that's buying a Tesla today, or you bought a Tesla in, December of 2023, and it's your first experience, and you try that FSD for 3 months, and you're driving down the road, and it goes to swerve off the road, yeah, you're probably going to be like, what the heck is this garbage? Why did I pay for this? Or why would I pay for this if it's going to do these dangerous things? So with this sentiment change that I'm noticing, I'm wondering what your thoughts are, especially if you actually own a Tesla and use FSD, or are thinking about it, I suppose. What do you think of FSD lately? Because a lot of the problem in the sentiment, in my opinion, is Elon over the past few years telling us every year for 5-6 years now, oh, this year we're going to have robotaxis. This year we're going to have robotaxis. Now, for me personally, I'm just like an optimistic person, but I'm also very realistic. So every time Elon said that, I was like, yeah, right. Like, there's no way by the end of this year, for multiple years, I've thought to myself, and I've said it in videos and stuff, there's no way by the end of this year, my car's going to be driving itself. It's just not going to happen. So the fact that that expectation wasn't met for me is kind of like, well, yeah, that's what I expected. So I don't mind as much. And I love the progress, and I do love what's actually on my car today. Although it's called FSD and it doesn't actually fully drive itself, what I have, I do enjoy. I'm also in a slightly different position because I make videos about it and those videos can make money. So, it's something that I can monetize. Whereas if this was just something every day, I didn't make videos about it or didn't talk about it on social media and stuff, I might not care as much. I might not want to use FSD. I might not want to pay for it because it's not something I can use as a tool in another way. Another thing to think about with FSD adoption is think about people that are using their Teslas, me and you, or new users or old users who have something like the auto wipers that were so garbage for 6 months. I think we had these really awful auto wipers. Now, people have been complaining about them for more than 6 months, but from my experience, they were working really well until around 6 months ago. And then some update just made them total garbage. They wouldn't wipe in the rain. They would wipe all the time when there was no precipitation. And it seems in the past few weeks, they've actually fixed that with I think the holiday update did pretty much fix the auto wipers. So they seem to be working well for me again. Think of somebody who's thinking about spending all this money on software when their wipers don't even work. Do they really trust that a company is going to be able to make a car drive itself when the company can't even make the wipers wipe when there's something on the windshield? It's at least something to think about. Or the lack of park assist. Tesla has said on their website for over a year now, yeah, you're getting Tesla Vision and it can't park itself yet. And you can't use Summon and you can't use Smart Summon like our older cars, but it's coming. It's coming. And how long can you really say that? How long can you leave up on the website? For $6,000, you get park assist, or I should say auto park. They do have park assist now, although they didn't before. You get auto park, summon, and smart summon. But then when you go through with the purchase, you get a little disclaimer saying like, okay, these don't actually work right now, but it's coming soon. Like, what if you bought your car a year ago? It's just leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. They're not going to want to pay you more for additional software when what they already paid for isn't quite working yet. On top of that, I really think NHTSA kind of screwed Tesla here a little bit with this latest recall thing and regulation. Now, it was a voluntary recall and, Tesla's working with NHTSA, but people are really annoyed by the nags. Now, I recently made a video you should check out where I was talking about, for me, the nags don't seem that different, but they are more aggressive on autopilot. The camera does watch your eyes on autopilot. I had a lot of feedback from you guys in the comments, which was great. And it is a change that people are adapting to. Now, still, in my opinion, if you're sitting facing forward and, you have a hand on the wheel, the car's not going to bug you. But other people, that's not their experience. I don't want to discount that. It's just, in my experience, the car seems to work okay. It is a lot more sensitive, though, to you looking away and things like that. And so if people are using basic autopilot and getting yelled at all the time, and they're like, this is stupid, I don't even want to use it, again, they're not going to pay for additional software. And I've seen that sentiment online a ton as well. People saying, I don't even use my autopilot anymore because it yells at me so much. I'll give you a couple tips real quick. Either wear sunglasses because it changed the eye tracking to head tracking, which is a little more forgiving, or wear a hat so it can't see your eyes. And again, it changes it to head tracking. So if you do look down at your phone, even with sunglasses or a hat, it's still going to yell at you, but it's a little more forgiving. So just so you know, without any of those things, I've had full drives where I drive for 20 minutes and I don't get nagged one time. So just throwing that out there. Now, despite this, there is some good news for FSD in that, number one, we have version 12 coming soon, whatever, like Tesla's slowly, weirdly rolling it out. It is coming eventually. It's just one of those things that's like we're waiting forever, but it'll be here soon. I would guess within the next couple of weeks, it'll at least start rolling out to more people. And on top of that, the miles driven with FSD have increased. So Tesla did release that chart on the earnings call, and miles are going up with FSD. So people are still using it. It's not that adoption has dropped off. It doesn't look like the graph is starting to flatten out or anything, or miles aren't increasing as much. It does seem people are still using it at a consistent rate. So while maybe new people are not buying FSD, I really, don't blame them for that. It seems the people that did buy it, they're still using it, and they continue to use it just as I do myself. I do use it for like 99% of my driving all the time, even though I haven't made an FSD video in, I don't know, probably a month or something. I still use it every single day for almost all of my miles. And speaking of that, it is funny because when I was talking to my coworker, he said to me, so wait, you're asking me all these questions. Are you using it for all of your driving? And I said, yeah. I started to say yes, but the day that we were talking about this, there was a huge snowstorm that morning, and it took me like well over an hour to get to work. And I had to be like, well, okay, today I didn't because of the snow. I was like, but normally, yes, I use it for all of my driving. So I did have like an hour and a half of driving where I turned it on for just a couple of minutes the whole time just to kind of test it out in the snow. But for the most part, that whole drive I did manually. And it's just so funny. We were having that conversation that day, and I had to kind of tell him like, yeah, I paid for it. And yeah, okay, I guess I'm not using it, like today at least. So I'm very curious about the future of FSD, especially because still to this day, I'm skeptical that the car in my garage with the current hardware that it has on it, my hardware 4 Tesla Model Y, is capable of being a robo-taxi. That car's not going to be a robo-taxi. I just don't think so. I also am very skeptical that it's going to get to the point, again, that vehicle, I think Tesla can do it eventually, but that vehicle in my garage is going to get to a point where I could be sleeping and it's driving me around. There's just something about the hardware setup and these years and years we've been testing this, and Tesla keeps rewriting the software and redoing the software, that keeps me very skeptical. At the same time, I have very high hopes for version 12. I think we're going to see something really magical, maybe not right out the gate. When you get a new version, I think it might be a little goofy, especially with everything's different and blah, blah, blah. Not trying to make excuses. I just really think that's how it's going to be. But I do believe in, let's say I'll give you a number. I don't usually like to give numbers because it's hard to do, but I would say within 3 to 6 months after version 12 FSD wide release, I think we're really going to start to see some magic in that the car is going to be incredibly, incredibly capable and taking us much farther distances without intervention than we thought was possible previously. And I would love to be wrong about my prediction about the car in my garage.